Where the hell is my pizza? You're wasting my damn time. Where the hell is my pizza? This has to be a crime. I waited 2 hours because this isn't fine. Where the hell is my pizza? You're wasting my damn time. My craving grew high as What's up, guys? Spongebob Collector here, and today we'll be looking at my top 10 most disturbing Spongebob episodes. This is my opinion. This is basically how I felt as a child, and now from watching these from my childhood up to this point in my life. So, like, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff, and let's get right into the video. Number 10. To Love a Krabby Patty. This is a very interesting episode about SpongeBob making Krabby Patties for the hungry customers at the Krusty Krab. He falls in love with a specific patty. He actually almost gets killed over it because he refuses to serve it to a bodybuilder that looks like he could eat SpongeBob with 2 bites. And it's just this obsession he got with his Krabby Patty was very disturbing for viewers, especially when he sung a song to it and proceeded to kill like 20 clams over it. And it's also more disturbing when you think about the fact that SpongeBob raised a clam with Patrick, named it Junior, fed it and all that, and then he goes and kills the same kind as Junior. Pretty disturbing, so that's why this is at number 10. Number 9. Shanghai. This is a very weird episode. It's one of my favorites, but it's weird. Basically, it's Apache's pig, and SpongeBob and Patrick and Squidward end up getting on a Dutchman ship after a lot of shit happens. And they end up becoming a part of his crew, so they gotta go scare people. But one word led to another. Squidward gets dropped into an infinite falling loop with creepy pictures, weird backgrounds, and I know it's kind of funny when you think about it, but it's kind of like it's disturbing. And when you see SpongeBob and Patrick looking down at it, it's just weird. Also, basically to sum it up quickly, they got 3 wishes so the Dutchman could get his sock back from them. And by the last wish, they knew that the Dutchman was going to eat him, so they wished that he was a vegetarian. But the Dutchman ends up turning them into fruit to try and eat him. That's why that's at number 9. Number 8. Nasty Patty. So this episode is very disturbing when you think about it. A health inspector came to the Krusty Krab. SpongeBob was feeding them food, everything on the menu, just so they can pass, but they find out there's an impersonator going around that's pretending to be a health inspector, so they assume that the guy that came into the Krusty Krab was the imposter, so they feed him a very nasty, disgusting patty, and a fly comes out of that patty into his throat, and he ends up choking on it, and they all think that he died, and so they try and bury him, they try and do whatever they can to get rid of him. But, of course, at the end, they confess, and then the cops see him walk in, and they think he's a zombie. But at the end of the day, Krusty Krab passed the inspection, but it's very weird and disturbing when you think about it, that Mr. Krabs was trying to hide a body, and then he was trying to blame SpongeBob for it at the end. Number 7. Fungus Among Us. So this episode is disturbing because of how gross it is. This episode is about SpongeBob waking up and he's finding ick on his floor. Gary tries to eat it, but he doesn't let him. He just tries to clean it, but he ends up catching the ick. And he ended up going to work, and Squidward's seen it on him, and Squidward called, I'm assuming the cops, and then they evacuated them and got him quarantined. But as he was getting evacuated, he gave Squidward the ick. Ended up giving it to everyone in town. And, of course, instead of staying in his house, Patrick had to come along and make it well SpongeBob could become mobile, and he went back to the Krusty Krab in bad condition. And the worst part about this was the Bikini Bottom mice started attacking SpongeBob because of this, which kind of was like, I don't know, that's just kind of crazy. They see a man clearly ill in a bubble, obviously sick as hell, and they just still go to attack him. Anyways, at the end of the day, Gary started eating all the ick up, and he cleaned up everybody. It was just gross, that's why it was disturbing. Number 6. Doing Time. So this episode is about Mrs. Puff and SpongeBob doing a driver's test, and SpongeBob ends up wrecking into a fruit punch truck, and he ends up getting Mrs. Puff arrested. And while she's there, they're trying to break her out and stuff, and it's causing her to go crazy. And she makes a police guard think that she's crazy. She ends up in solitary. And, well, the room starts looking like SpongeBob and laughing, and it's making her hallucinate. And at the end, it just shows a loop of her driving with SpongeBob, going through that loop, like basically falling in the car. Like, let's just be honest here, that's enough to make anyone go psycho. So that's why this is at number 6. Number 5, Squidward and Clarinet Land. This is one of the episodes that I would rather not watch. I'm not crazy about this episode because this episode's freaky, okay? So, Squidward just wants his clarinet put up somewhere so it don't get dirty and stuff. Because the baby drooled on it. Because the mom don't know how to keep the baby out of people's shit. But SpongeBob tries to help by getting a locker, cleaning it, and putting Squidward's clarinet in there. But it becomes a shit show because apparently it's so big you can go inside of it. Even though it's tiny on the outside, you can go inside of it. To the magic of television. Anyways, when he goes in there, it becomes creepy because SpongeBob has a clarinet, but SpongeBob's not really there. He hallucinates. An eagle swallows him. And when he gets swallowed, he lands in a chair, and there's friggin' 2 Squidwards. They put a clarinet down the throat and then start blowing it in Squidward's ears. It's so weird, okay? This whole episode's a friggin' shit show, and that's why this is, like, disturbing. I can't watch this episode. It's crazy. Number 4, Spongehenge. This episode ain't really that bad, but, like, it's just, like, it gives you chills, especially, like, halfway into it, because episode's basically about the jellyfish likes the noise of the wind when it goes through SpongeBob's holes, and it causes SpongeBob not to be able to live his life. Basically, he can't work or anything because of it, so he has to run to a cave where he's there so long that he ends up growing facial hair, long hair, and he has to make a friend out of rocks. And it's just weird because he's literally talking to this person as if it's an actual person, and it literally shows he lost his mind. Anyways, he builds giant sculptures of him so that the jellyfish will leave him alone. And when he gets back, the Krusty Krab is demolished. So he was gone for a while. And the worst part is, aliens show up at the end talking about the friggin' thing. And I don't know why, but when they zoom into the SpongeBob sculpture, it just gives me the creeps. I don't know why, I don't know if that's just me, but it does. That's why it's on his list. If you made it this far into the video, I want to say thank you for watching this video. Hope y'all hit the like button, subscribe, and comment. Tell me stuff y'all want to see. Let's get right back into the video. Number 3, SB129. This is a pretty cool episode of SpongeBob. It's where Squidward accidentally locks himself in the freezer at the Krusty Krab. He ends up freezing himself to the future, so he uses a time machine to go back to the past, but he goes way too far back to caveman time, and he goes back into the time machine and he breaks it, and it takes him to a void, basically. And this episode is pretty cool, but just the one part that brings it all the way up to number 3 is when he's in this void and he sits down and he's like, I'm all alone. And then it keeps saying alone and alone and alone. It just gives you a weird feeling. And then when he starts running and he's going nowhere, it's just like just weird chills. You get goosebumps. It's just crazy. Number 2, One Course Meal. One of the worst SpongeBob episodes of all time. This episode is very disturbing because, you all know, Plankton tries to steal a Krabby Patty formula. Pearl shows up and he's afraid of whales, so he runs away. So Mr. Krabs dresses up as Pearl to scare Plankton intentionally, and it gets him depressed to the point where he wants to unalive himself. You tell me if that's disturbing or not. So, you see why it's at number 2, right? Hope you've been enjoying the video. Before we go to number 1, here are some honorable mentions. In Spongiac, Squid's Visit, Ink Lemonade, and Planet of the Jellyfish. That's our honorable mentions. And finally, number 1, I Had an Accident. This episode is very interesting to say the least. It starts off with SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy snowboarding, and SpongeBob gets a bad accident where he basically breaks his ass. And he ends up getting scared of being outside, so he goes inside and just stays inside. And eventually, Sandy and Patrick's trying to get him to come outside, and Patrick dresses up as a gorilla, but another Patrick pops up, And when the fake Patrick pops up and unzips him, like unzips his skin, it's a gorilla. And it's just weird, and it's just like, it don't make no sense how a gorilla was underwater. And then when that gets confronted, even the gorilla's like, well, he's like, they're onto us. And then he gets on a zebra. And then they basically walk off in the sunset. Hell, even the family at the end of the episode was like, what the hell is this? Like, it's just weird, and it just like terrified all of us as kids. That's why this is at number 1, because this was even like crazier than freaking Plankton trying to unalive himself. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hope you liked the video. Like, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.